Hi, how you doing? Welcome to the show. If you've missed us, we're back again. And if you didn't miss us, we're back again as well for loads of cool stuff. It's a secret Toilet Paper Diaries.
Episode 86, Dave, and I think we have two interesting things to cover today. We're going to be covering, of course, our the best of the secret toilet paper diaries, as we were promising last week. But before we do that, I think we have to talk about an interesting phenomenon. Possibly, you can tell us what we. I mean, you can tell the audience what we're actually talking about.
Yeah. I've fallen down the rabbit hole, but I'm still holding on with my fingers to the top of a rabbit hole with Clubhouse, which is an invite-only app where it creates like a live podcast. Imagine a load of breakout rooms from Zoom where people are going in and chatting as radio only. So you can't see anybody, but you've got their avatar and an Instagram-style description of who they are. And right now, there are a lot of really interesting conversations, a lot of rubbish ones as well. People going, me, buy me. But some people going, I hate the world. And some people having really interesting conversations. And having come from radio and having come from TV as a background, it seems really lo-fi to then go to a place where you're just having conversations with strangers, but it's strangely addictive. And I've really enjoyed the experience. I walk the dogs twice a day, first thing in the morning and last thing at night. And I jump into Clubhouse with my headset on every single time. And most of the time, I can last all the way around the block without changing channel. Sometimes I have to go, you're all stupid, and switch it off. But that's quite rare.
Yeah, it is a very interesting platform, which it has a couple of things which, I do not know how effective the growth is going to be, because right now it's only for iPhone. That's a bit of a pain in the neck because, of course, I mean, I would like to, for example, I invited Christian Farioli, and I know that Christian Farioli is only an Android phone user. And I have invited also a few other people, and they cannot see it because they cannot go in. And then that's very frustrating for them. Also, I think, I think still people are still trying to figure out how it goes. And one of the things that I have noticed is that everybody just talking about themselves, and it's a me kind of attention. So I question how effective Clubhouse is going to be. However, you have had more experience than me, and you say that this is something that's definitely going to be growing a lot faster.
Yeah, I think that it's still in its baby stages, so it doesn't really know which direction it's going to go in. Because, for instance, you can only go in representing yourself. You can't go in representing a brand. But there's no reason why the marketing manager of Porsche or Walmart or Apple can't have a closed room, invite in 2,000 people and treat it like a town hall meeting, because the controls that you have on being able to run a room are really effective. Yeah. So I think that there will be a number of different directions where you're going to see it go. But if you can do it, it's almost worth having an iPhone or buying an old one just so you can jump in and see what everybody else is talking about. If not, don't worry. Before you know it, it'll be on every platform and you'll be able to decide whether you like it or not. For me, I'm bored of almost every social media platform. This is one of the rare ones where I actually don't mind it. But I think if you found out that just like your devices at home that have artificial intelligence, they're actually recording all the rooms and everything and what everybody said, I think that would have a big difference to whether people were so freely talking and enjoying Clubhouse.
If you are in Clubhouse already, let us know just right now below the comments. What is your handle? My handle is at Ernesto Verdugo, and you are at Dave Crane.
I am indeed.
That's awesome. So let's make sure that we follow each other. And yeah, I believe that it's going to be working pretty much as a town hall, as a press conference kind of tool. So it's very, very interesting. But anyway, we're going to be covering a few more things on how Clubhouse is developing. And we also, I have a topic that I really want to cover, and I hope that we will be able to do it very, very soon, which is going to be media bias. which I think it's something that I am absolutely fascinated about. So I think we should cover that very soon, Dave. But right now, let's go into all the amazing content that we covered in Fast Forward, or as we call it,
the secret Toilet Paper Diaries.
Toilet Paper right Diaries. Coming up.
It's a complete honor. If you were going out into the world, you're saying, well, who would you like to have as a mentor and a friend who looks like a movie star? You'd probably come up with somebody like Morgan Freeman. Well, imagine that you could meet Morgan Freeman in the skin. And this is our next guest. He's like that to me. He's an incredible mentor, a really smart player, brilliant businessman, incredible sales guru, and he trains people all across America to be great speakers too. And amongst the people that he's worked with, I mean, I can tell you who they are, but the thing is, when I mention names like Les Brown and Mark Victor Hansen, if you don't know who they are, then we're wasting our time. You have to Google them, and then you'll go, oh, like that as well. So we're talking about a gentleman whose name is James Dentley, and before we say anything else, you need to see James in action. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the incredible Mr. James Dentley. Wow. I tell you what, I don't think until people can see you actually speaking on stage, James, they'll know just how powerful you are. When you start speaking, the whole world just goes, oh, stop. I've got to hear this. And I've watched it happen every time you've spoken. So it's a real honor to have you here on the show. Me and Ernesto are big fans of yours anyway, as well as being friends. How are you? I should start by saying
I'm excited to be here. I was still clapping for that last guy.
He looked good, didn't he?
Yeah.
Ernesto?
I was telling him that I envy him that he actually has gone to the hairdresser. I mean, look at me. I'm the one wearing the afro.
But it suits you. It's excellent. It accentuates your forehead. So, James, big question. You've worked with many speakers. You've trained many speakers. You've got classes and schools for making speakers out of people who just are enthusiastic business people. What, in your mind, creates a great speaker?
Wow. Well, first of all, I want to say this. I'm honored to be here, and you guys are doing a phenomenal job with your show. I highly recommend it, endorse it. I want everyone to simply share with everyone, because not only do I know the talents and ability of these gentlemen, but I also know their hearts. And I know that they're here to give and to share and to empower and impact and inspire as well. Well, what makes a good speaker? I think one, first of all, that's fully self-expressed. You know, all of us have a story. All of us have very unique gifts. And a great speaker is a person that knows how to take a person on a journey within themselves that they cannot go on by themselves. And I think when you hit that stride, then you're walking right into greatness. And anybody can do it. Just have to be authentic.
But there's so many bad speakers out there, James, and every single one of them seems to think that what they say will change the world. And I've watched them go on stage and watched everybody suddenly start looking in their phones for Facebook or funny videos or anything but watching them. So there's more to a successful speaker than just changing people. What is that spark?
Well, first of all, is understanding, Dave, that when you get on that stage, you are not the star. You are the director. The audience is the star. And the job of a director is to bring out the best performance, the best potential of the people that they're charged to oversee and to help develop and help string out the blind spots and open up their full potential. And I think when you can do that and you understand that, then the fears go away, the jitters go away, and you operate from a place of giving and serving to impact people and speak into their listening, into their nervous system, and they'll never forget you, because you'll put anchors and triggers inside of them that, and when they need that information, when they need that spark, it'll pop right there to be right there for them.
It's a bit like a martial art, isn't it? Sorry, Ernesto, You're next.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, I've been blessed to be also teaching in your speaker camp, being surrounded with amazing people. You attract incredible people, and you being also the mentor and the teacher from many speakers around the world.
Mhm.
And I have the feeling here that there's a lot of people which are wanting that wanted to get into speaking, and then the pandemic came, and some of them are still figuring out how it would work. What would actually be the best advice that you can give to starting speakers right now?
Number one, you have to get some training. You want to get some training because, see, we have a lot of people who have a natural gift, but they don't understand the psychology of how to put themselves in a certain state mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. How to use their voice as a can and paint a picture or create a story like an artist on a canvas, that you can use your voice like the soundtrack of a movie. And there's more to it than the words you say, but the energy behind it. And how do you get into that space? Not sometimes, but every single time, and be fully self-expressed and know how to make the connection. So they say what's in the head, what's in the head, there's a lot of thoughts there, but the truth is always in the heart.
That's
So
very cool.
in
Yeah.
terms of the speaking industry, I
Mhm.
mean, it went into lockdown, everybody's in a panic, and we've now started to see people returning to work all around the world. But
Yeah.
part of that conditioning is they don't want to get into a packed room with anybody else.
Yeah.
So, how do you see the speaking industry post pandemic?
Well, first of all, to look at when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at always change. Anytime where there's great calamity, there's greater opportunities. It's always going to leave a seed when well nourished and planted in the right environment, will grow to equal and opposite and powerful advantage. Right now is the best time ever. You see a lot of companies, they're slicing their budgets of traveling. A lot of their corporate employees won't be traveling anywhere right now because they've been shut down or they've been cut back for the last 90 days. It's affected the economy all over the world. So if you have a message, now you don't have to worry about having everything in place. You need your marketing, your branding, your core message, and understanding who is the demographic. Who do you serve? Who can you help solve a problem and fill a need? Because if you have any expertise, and guess what? We all do, that there's always a space for you, and you can use technology now to get there. But it's really about building your community and being on shows like this so you can get the exposure. But more importantly, and I'll just say this, I know it's my interview, but when it comes to stagecraft, there's nobody better in the world than Dave Crane. And when it comes to marketing and your branding and understanding the psychology of that, there's no better student of the game and master of the game than Ernesto Verdugo. So just being in the right company, in the right environment, is what's going to help you grow and be able to flourish. And you'll figure it out from there. You'll find your audience. The audience is always out. Look, we have a friend of ours who has 350,000 people that follow them who are interested in an octopus. Surely there's some moms out there who want to know how to get it right. Or surely there's somebody who wants to know how to keep a good relationship, or whatever skill set you do that you have that you excel in. You can not only monetize that because you create value and you solve a problem and fill a need. You do that and you're there.
Thank you very much for the compliment, and I also feel really honored to that we are friends, and I also that you are my mentor in many different ways. I know that right now you are creating your virtual platform, your virtual training platform. So, would you give us for a short period of time a taste of the amazing training that you're actually sharing with your students?
Well, first of all, it begins with your mental state by putting yourself in the state. Everything in life happens two times. It's the thought, the thing, the inner, the outer, the mental, and then the fact in your mind what you want to create. You can actually tell the future if you know you're going to create it. So you have to learn how to use the power of visualization and use your imagination, and you play this whole thing out. Think about an athlete that's running track. Well, they ran a track before they got to the arena. They played the game and they faced their opponent before they got on the basketball court. Even a bride walks down the aisle before she gets to the church. Before she even gets up in the morning, she's walking down in her mind. So first of all, you have to get in a state of mind and know how energy works and how to compress that energy that it will serve you well. The second thing you have to realize that if there's any nervousness or jitters that can serve you tremendously well. But to understand when most people have any fear, it's because you're thinking about you. And it's never about you. It's about the audience. Remember, you're the director. You're not the star. We worry about if we're going to remember what to say and how are we going to look and how do we sound. Most people don't even like their voice. I didn't like my voice until Les Brown one day. I introduced him. He said, James, that voice, you know how he does it. I said, wow, I got a nice voice, huh? And so you get those, you build your confidence as you go through your process. And don't worry about that. But then it's to understand the psychology of it. It's to understand that when you hit that stage, I teach people what to do in their first 30 to 45 seconds. This is your F30 or your F45. F45, the first 45 seconds, how do you capture that audience? Now, how do you capture them? How do you keep them? How do you inspire them? Because what you want to do is impact, inspire, distract people, and you want to distract them from the challenges they have going on in their life. And you get a chance to be that vessel. And understanding that your communication skills, well, that's a new currency. That's going to serve you exceptionally well. So when you understand your personality types, then you'll understand the keys to holding an audience, to get a person to want to listen, to be able to speak into their listening. Because we're all different, but in some cases, we're all alike. I use 4 personality types, and we all have all 4. I call it the dolphin, the shark, the urchin, and the whale. Well, the shark is a person who's very motivated, very competitive. They're money driven. They're success driven. They love to win. They wear their power clothes. They wear their expensive watches, drive their fancy luxury cars. And they're people that you want on your side because they're going to go through a wall to win. The challenge with them is that they can come off a little bit overwhelming or a little bit like they don't care. They're a little condescending. They don't have a lot of patience. They make decisions fast, hard, and they move quickly towards their goal. Your dolphins. Dolphins love to have fun. Dolphins are very colorful people. They come to everything late. They don't make up their bed every day. Why make it up every day when we're going to jump right back in it? That's their psychology. They have 2 or 3 or 6 junk drawers, and they have big earrings or big jewelry around their wrists, or maybe have colors in their hair. They're the life of the party. They're wonderful people, but they're not as organized, and they're never on time. They don't like lectures. A lecture, well, they believe that the mind can handle what the butt can endure. You give them a lecture and they check out. Then you have your urchin. Your urchins are analytical. Your urchins need information. They don't like hype. They don't like things that don't start on time. They're very conservative in dress. If you meet a person and they're in the engineering field, then they're anchored in urchin. Okay, very conservative people, somewhat anal. Sometimes they're stick in the mud, but they can save you a lot because they're process thinkers. They like organization. When they figure it out, nothing stops them. And then you have your whales. Well, your whales are nurturers. They wear earth tones. They like to help people. They don't care that much about the money. They're cause driven. They want to make sure that we're making the world a better place. Now, all of us have all 4 personalities, but we're usually anchored in 1, 2, sometimes 3 of them. The key is to understand what personality trait you have, but then to know what personality trait that you don't have and how to, with intention, speak the language of someone who doesn't think like you. Now, has anyone ever, you ever met someone or been around someone and you kind of irritate each other? You just don't click. Most of the time, that would be a personality trait. Now, here's the funny thing. Like dolphins and sharks, they make decisions quickly. And your urchins and your whales, they make them slowly. One is of love, and they're very slow and methodical, and they move. The other one needs information, or they're not moving. Now, you can take that whale, and they can be in business with that shark and get along just fine. They can even be married together because one will balance out the other one. Like my grandfather was that shark. My grandmother was like, oh, he didn't mean it. He loves you. And they just smooth each other out. The same thing with the urchin and the dolphin. One's sloppy, one's neat. One loves order, one loves chaos. Nobody knows with their filing system but them. They just got it all in their imagination, and they really don't know. But okay. But they're a lot of fun. But one brings out the fun side, of the urchin, the stick in the mud. The other brings order to their life. So there's harmony. So when you're speaking, even from the standpoint of your introduction, you want to paint with a broad brush. You want to touch the dolphins, the sharks, the urchins, and the whale. So when I'm speaking, I talk about, look, the power, the impact of the possibility of what's going to happen in the future, of what you can do, that you can make it happen, that get outside of your head and get inside of your greatness. And I'll talk to the sharks. Then the fun part comes to dolphins. You use your stories, you use certain parts of humor, your demeanor, you laugh a little bit, have fun, engage the audience. That will bring in your dolphins. Make sure you know your stuff. You use quotes, you use analytics, you use statistics. When you're well informed, that will anchor in your urchins. And know how to soften your voice and care and speak from your heart. Because from the heart reaches the heart, and you touch your whales. And from an introduction all through your conversation, that's how you speak. Now, you don't have to be in front of an audience. You can be on your corporate board. You can talk to children in the school. Any facet when it has to do with communication. It's how you communicate, because your success is in direct alignment with your ability to effectively communicate. It'll help you through a job interview, help you with your investment pool. It's going to help you when you want to cast vision onto a group of people that you want to enroll into this powerful vision, that you want them to get behind you. And as a great leader, you become a great communicator, because your title doesn't make you a leader. Only those people do. So how do you enroll people? And when you're communicating and you understand the psychology and enrollment, well, enrollment is just all about agreement, bringing people to agreement, getting people, does this make sense? Raise your hand. That's agreement. If that makes sense, nod your head. That's agreement. Hey, stand up. Does this make sense? That's agreement. If you're ready to walk with me, meet me, stand up and go and sit around. That's agreement. To bring people to agreement, to get a person to say, yes, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I agree with that, even on a subconscious level. Now, the next part is to understand the power of your voice, like the soundtrack of a movie. If you look at a movie, do you know the soundtrack that you barely pay attention to? That really is what anchors the entire experience. You know, the music and the mood, the soundtrack soften your heart and bring you to tears. The soundtrack can make you laugh. It can bring you to tension, but it's behind what you're seeing and what you are hearing. I'll give you an example. You're watching Jaws, okay, and the shark's coming to eat up people, and it's dun-dun, dun-dun. And there's a tension, and people are swimming around. You see the legs under the water, but there's a soundtrack that taps into your nervous system, okay? Now, and then here comes the shark and goes right past the person, doesn't get them, but your body flinches to tension. Now, what would happen if we change the music? Here comes the shark. Shark's about to eat the little boy. And instead of hearing, dun, 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 you hear, changes the entire scene. Imagine the movie Scream. He's jumping out behind the closet with a knife, big butcher knife, long white mask, the black hood on. You hear, it would change the experience. So know how to use your voice. Now, loud and fast is for impact. You want to create impact? When you set yourself on fire, the world will come out and see you burn. It creates impact. It jolts the nervous system. Loud and slow is for emphasis. When you set yourself on fire, the world will come out and see you burn. It's emphasis. And they also provide different anchors. Now, low and fast is for engagement. When you set yourself on fire, the world will come out and see you burn. Not that someone has to remember and hear every word you said, but the urchins will know that you know your stuff. And then low and slow is for emotion. When you set yourself on fire, the world will come out and see you burn. And that will smooth out your nervous system. When you combine those two with the personality traits and the other things we talk about in stagecraft and positioning and frequency, my book behind me is the 5 frequencies of high performance, then you can nail it. But you want to take people on a journey that they cannot even experience independently of you. You know, so it's really about learning the power of listening to the listening. Now, of course, there's open loops, there's tiebacks, there's anchors and things of that nature. That, you know, when you tell the brain to imagine, for example, when you tell your people to imagine, The brain just goes on that journey, and whatever you ask the brain to do at that point, it's going to follow that tread. Have you ever heard somebody talk about, imagine you have a lemon in your hand. Imagine you have this lemon and you see this lemon, it's yellow, and just washed it, it's glistening, and you cut it open, and you see that pulp, and it's glistening, it's fresh, and you will smell it, it's got that good lemony smell, and they ask you to take a bite in it, and everybody's mouth like, but there's no real lemon. When you ask the brain to imagine, then it's going to trail off to what you say next. This is called an open loop because the brain is a closure-seeking mechanism. Okay, that's why sometimes we assume somebody's going to say something before they finish their sentence. This is how the brain works. So what I'm going to teach in this is how the brain works, how to use your voice, how to craft your message, how to tell your story, and how to create an experience with people that distracts, disputes, and inspires. Distract them from the challenges and the self-limiting thoughts they may have. Dispute the fact that the story that they're living in, that there is more, there's something better, there's greatness inside of each and every one of you, and it's waiting for you. And inspire them that they count, they matter. And with their story, they can help inspire and impact and serve someone else whose life can become better because they feel like they're all alone. And then you come and shared your story. And there it is.
That was amazing, Mr. James Dentley. Thank you so much. When you're just talking about all those different things, and we all lecture, we all train, and we all coach people, but when we hear a master like yourself sharing all those tips, it was something really special. So thank you, James, for joining us on Fast Forward and sharing those. I could have quite happily just sat here and carried on listening because it was phenomenal. Really good, really good.
Oh.
You're the one of the most traveled people in the world. What number of how traveled are you, Ernesto?
247.
Amazing. And that's not going to change because nobody else is going to beat that record while we're in lockdown.
Anymore.
So congratulations. Ever.
So that's correct. But anyway, and this is one of the things that Dave is going to be talking about in a moment, which is how to switch into the Wi-Fi code. And I love this metaphor from Dave because he says, well, whenever you arrive, whenever you're going to start having some sort of communication experience, whether it is a one-on-one, whether it is a one-to-many, whether it is a one-to-millions, you need to understand who your audience is. Already James mentioned it. So that's why it's critical that you understand how this works. A lot of people call themselves international speakers. I mean, I know a few American speakers because, of course, they like the international part that they say, well, where have you spoken? I spoke once in Canada. And I go like, are you freaking kidding me? I mean, Canada is just next door. It's like if it will be the United States, what makes you an international speaker? Now, the way that you have to see things is globally. You need to understand the culture in most of these different countries. That's why this is so incredibly important, what we are going to be teaching you, which also is very linked to what we were covering. I mean, if we will simply understand that it's fine to be different, and that it's fine that everybody's not like us, we will be perfectly fine. So I was very fortunate to be training with Gert Hofstede and with von Strompeners when I used to work for the training department of KLM Royal Dutch Airlines. And one of the things that was incredibly important for KLM was that you actually learn to know the cultures. So this is a couple of models of what the different cultures think. So first of all, it's okay. The personality, that's pretty much specific to individuals. And your personality is affected by whatever you inherited and learned and whatever. Then it goes to the next level, which of course it's specific to group or category. And of course there are things that you learned. It doesn't matter where you are, you will learn whatever your culture is telling you. I mean, you will be celebrating Christmas, not because of course it is programmed in your DNA that the 25th of December, you have to celebrate. I mean, it's a pagan tradition. I mean, it wasn't even the day that Jesus Christ was born. And sorry if that was a spoiler alert, but that's exactly how things work. And then, of course, we go into the universal inherited human nature thing. So there's a ton of things that we have to dive into if we actually see culture from the perspective of psychology. Now, what I'm going to be sharing with you right now in a very fast way, it's going to be a little bit how you can actually get this done. And Dave, I mean, we both understand how important all these bits and pieces are on the culture. I mean, we just don't normally judge anybody by their skin color. We don't judge anybody by their nationality or by their way of thinking. I mean, we always are trying to figure out, well, there's so many incredible things that we can learn from the culture. Right?
Well, not least the fact, I mean, even in Dubai, where I've been in Dubai for 25 years, if you're a car salesman, then you can't judge anybody that walks into your showroom, because sometimes you'll get a local Arab guy walking in with ripped jeans and a baseball cap back to front and a vest and just maybe some flip-flop sandals on. And you might think, why is this guy coming to a Lamborghini garage? I don't even know if he can afford anything. But it might be somebody who's so rich he could buy the entire garage inside out. And often they turn around and say, I'll have green, blue, and red. Can you send them to this business card? And leave. So you never know. You can never judge a book by its cover, because so many people have layers underneath. And they're the ones you really should be looking out for.
Yeah. Talking about books, as I was mentioning, we're going to be mentioning a number of things for you to prepare, because obviously, I mean, we cannot give all the training, but I think we're going to also be sharing with you several elements that you can also train yourself and continue reskilling yourself. One of the books that I strongly recommend for you to read is called Riding the Waves of Culture. It's written by von Strompenaars, and it will help you understand not only, the Chinese or the Indian or the blacks or the Jews or the whatever, because then, of course, you're putting everything on a box. What happens is that you need to understand that there's several things which are a lot easier to understand if you understand a model. And this is what is very powerful. I mean, we recently, Dave and I, learned that by using Venn diagrams, we can actually really explain things which are very complex. So this is a great model on how you can actually see the different cultures. There's only a few elements that you need to understand from every culture. I mean, some cultures are universal. Some cultures are more particular. Some cultures are more individual. For example, in the United States, everything is about individuality. However, in places like Spain, it's more about collective. But in the other hand, if you do not understand the little intricacies of that, you can also see it. Well, Mexico sounds like if it is a very collective country. However, it is not like that. It's actually a very individual country. How could I know, and how could I see an example? For example, Mexico never wins a sports event. They are very good in individual sports because that's their culture. But that's why this is so easy to understand when you know exactly where to look. Some are very neutral, like, for example, the German, the Dutch, the Scandinavian. Some of them are very effective. They like affection. So you need to understand how these are. Some of the cultures are driven by achievement. Some of them are driven by ascription. So how do you actually feel much better? See, for example, let's say the Americans are very achievement oriented, but the Filipinos are very ascription oriented. I mean, they feel great if they accomplish a task. They don't care how much they achieve. They feel great and they are congratulated because they actually accomplish a task. Some are very specific. Some are very diffuse. I mean, in Germany, incredibly specific, or in Japan, I mean, if they tell you the train, you're going to be leaving at 9:17. At 9:17, the train will leave. However, in Venezuela, if you go to the train and then they say, well, it will leave around 9:30, 9:45. So that you can see that there's some difference. There's cultures which are sequential, which are cultures which are also synchronic. There's cultures which are inner directed. There's cultures which are outer directed. So one of the things that I definitely recommend you to do is read that specific book of the Riding the Waves of Culture. For some reason here, I see that Dave disappeared. So Dave, are you there? Why is this so incredibly important for speakers? Right now, for global speakers. Let me just show you What happened to a company called Disney? They only have theme parks in the United States. One was in California, the other one was in Florida, and they said, well, now it's time to expand. They went to Tokyo, they partnered up with some Japanese, and they made a great success out of Tokyo Disneyland. But what happened when they went to Paris and they did not understand what is the importance of culture? Have a look.
At the top of the showbiz headlines, the Premier of France and the President of the Disney Company signed a multi-million-dollar deal today to open Euro Disney in France. The agreement comes after 2 years of negotiations, during which Disney agreed to give the new park a French flavor. Set to open in 5 years, the world's fourth Disney playground will occupy 4,400 acres of what is now farmland, 20 miles east of Paris. As part of that cultural compromise, Mickey will still be Mickey and Donald will still be Donald. But in Euro Disney, Goofy becomes Dingo, and Snow White will be called Blanche-Neige. Liz?
Just 1 year after becoming chairman and CEO of the Walt Disney Company, Michael Eisner announced plans for a Euro Disneyland to be constructed near Paris, France. This seemed like the next obvious step for international expansion. There was only one problem. They forgot to ask France. While the project was built in coordination with the French government and French contractors, clearly the head of public opinion polling at the Walt Disney Company phoned in his report or was fired after reading the results because the citizens of France were very much not on board. Many prominent French commentators expressed distaste for what they saw as a capitalistic invasion of their beautiful countryside, some going as far as to promote burning the resort down and describing it as a cultural Chernobyl. The CEO of the resort, Robert Fitzpatrick, attempted to assuage the situation by explaining that the company didn't come in and say, okay, we're going to put a beret and a baguette on Mickey Mouse.
So there you go. This is exactly what happens. I mean, not because you're going to put a beret in Mickey Mouse, you're going to really know the culture. Now, once again, this is so critical, and I think this leads to the next segment that Dave is going to be explaining. You look a little bit blurred, Dave, so I hope that we will be able to. Are you still with us? We cannot hear you, Dave. You're not. We cannot hear you. While Dave come back, let me just show you a short video because I've been talking about Fons Trompenaars and possibly you have never heard of him. So here is Fons Trompenaars explaining the importance of culture. Have a look.
Because human beings are in essence social animals, culture becomes enormously important in defining the way they interact. And that affects our business too. Can you imagine that 60% of mergers and acquisitions fail because they ignored culture? The success of business is really dominated by cultural understanding. How do we recognize those differences? How are decisions made differently? How do we communicate differently? How do we build trust between people? In this program, I want to transform my concepts and tools into very practical applications. We take here 4 R's. First, I'll help you recognize cultural differences. The tools and concepts will help you to respect those differences. Once you respect and recognize the differences, everything turns into a dilemma that you need to reconcile. And then finally, attention is given in how do you realize and root the reconciled statements into practical actions. A better understanding of cultural differences will help you to improve your business. It will involve your stakeholders and it will lead to measurable results. Good luck in applying it.
So the first thing that we need to learn in order for us to understand how to deal with creating content in YouTube is that we need to have a little bit of and consistency. This is the number one secret that you need to have. So first of all, you need to be consistent. And this picture actually describes it very well. It's exactly like a diet. I mean, you cannot be on a diet for one day and then eat 3 chocolate cakes and 2 pizzas the next day, because it's not going to work. You need to be consistent so that you can actually get the results. And you need to be patient, because once again, we need a number of different videos. So how many videos do you need in YouTube in order for YouTube to start thinking, well, he's a serious content creator? And we heard it on the previous episode of Fast Forward, and it was 412 videos in order for you to get YouTube to start already considering you a serious YouTuber. Dave, do you agree with me that patience and consistency is absolutely critical?
It is, and it's also about taking action and having a roadmap. I mean, one of the things that we do here is we share content with you, but we also have the ability to mentor, move people forward, because so many people are putting stuff out there and it's rubbish. I've had a big problem with people on LinkedIn for ages, because I love LinkedIn, but all the people that I see putting out lots of clickbait, saying, oh, look, a cat's been rescued from a tree. Isn't it nice when people take the time to look after animals? I'm like, well, where's that going? What's the point in doing that? You've got a ton of likes, a ton of loves, but what a load of old rubbish. So it's got to be in a direction. You've got to be able to monetize it, and you've got to make it close to your brand to actually make it effective. And so, yeah, I think the pieces you put out are important, but it's not the only thing.
Correct. So in order for you to start doing content which is not rubbish, you need to understand that it is a sweat equity asset. Just taking your camera and saying, hello, this is something, whatever, those kind of videos do not really work, and they're absolutely rubbish, and you should not really be doing it. You have to invest some time and some effort in creating good videos, because if not, nothing is going to really stick, and that's the thing that you would not like to do it. Now, how do you create content which is not going to be rubbish? Well, I'm going to change your mind with this next slide. So please pay attention, because this is absolutely critical and absolutely important. So what you need to do is you need to understand that, yes, content is king. However, title is queen. And who's the boss in the castle? The queen, not the king. The king might be. Would you agree with that?
We think we're in charge until we get told to shut up and sit down.
Exactly. So what we have to do is before we start crafting the video, we have to figure out the title. Your title needs to be intriguing. Your title needs to be different. Your title needs to talk about something which is going to make people say, oh my goodness, this is great. So before you start creating your content, you have to make sure that you figure out what your title is going to be about. Let me just show you what is exactly what I mean with this. See, for example, I've been working with one of our speakers, Frank Mulcahy, that you possibly have heard me talking about earlier. And on his YouTube channel, he had a video that had this thumbnail. So you can see just over here, that was his thumbnail on that video. So as you can see, I mean, you see that video, and few people will click on it, but they will have, I mean, because of course he's telling them, please click on it. How would you actually get people to click on that? I mean, and by the way, that's a great video of him explaining about cyber theft and protecting your identity, about cyber crooks. But guess what happened? Nobody was clicking on it. But then we said, you know what? The most important thing is to start crafting the name of the video. And this is what we created. So it's exactly the same picture. Are you protecting your identity from crooks? Do you think that's going to make people think and say, oh my goodness, I do not know, let me find out? And then, of course, if that piece of content is good, people are going to be watching it, which is, of course, the next piece. But before I go into the next piece, which is engagement and retention, what you need to understand is that every single video that you upload in YouTube needs to have a proper thumbnail. What is a thumbnail? The first screenshot that you get. You can see a big difference. And right now, if you go to YouTube, you're going to see that a lot of videos have thumbnails. Right now, in fact, YouTube will not really favor your video unless it has a proper thumbnail. And as you can see, if you see the video here and if you see the video here, it is already making a big difference. So the video needs to be great, but the video, in order for you to make it really shoot to the roof, it has to create engagement, and it has to keep the retention level as high as possible. So what exactly does that mean? Well, first of all, engagement means that people are going to be watching. If your video is not watched at least 50 to 60%, YouTube is going to think, well, it's not interesting. Now, and I have to tell you, this is what I have been noticing. Some of our videos that are watched over 35 to 40% are the ones which are doing the best. We have a few videos which are doing right now 65%, that people see 65% of them, and those are doing okay. But the videos which people are watching the most are the ones which are having 35 to 45%, that they watch 35 to 45% of the time. And that is very important. So that basically is very critical. So that is the engagement. Now, what is the retention? The retention is that you keep them on your channel, so that you don't have just one video, but you need to have a number of different videos. So that's why you have to create volume, exactly as Gary Vee was saying. And that's just really absolutely critical. And last but not least, I need you to think in the following way. So whenever you're creating a piece of content, this is the mindset that you need to get. You're going to create a piece of content thinking, whatever I'm creating, whatever piece of content of a video that I am creating, has to get people to say, you know what, I know somebody that is going to benefit from this content that I am creating. We tested this with a video that Dave did recently about the Black Lives Matter movement. And it's incredibly powerful when somebody says to themselves, oh my goodness, this video I'm watching right now, it's something that I need to share, or it's something that somebody else needs to see. You have the right formula.
Absolutely. That video, and we shared it, I think it was last week, we showed how to make a video like that. It rattled around on so many social media, got reshared, had a ton of passionate comments about it, and it was really effective. And it was because it was simple, because it was a very simple message as well, but only appearing and found that easy to go with. And for many people, especially, I mean, we've got an incredible group of superstars who I know are watching this right now. They've all been at the top of their game, and they're all Googleable. The hardest bit is taking yourself out of this, because you're used to being the star and driving it through your own personality. But right now, there's a glut of personalities out there. There's so many people who can talk in front of a microphone and talk in front of a camera, who can share their stories. And here's the biggest challenge. They're all better looking and younger than we are. It's just the truth. So if you want to be effective with it, you have to find a way to position yourself as the mentor and position yourself as delivering their story, not yours.
There's 4 important elements that you need to know when you are creating videos for YouTube. First of all, you need to have an upload schedule. That means that if you're going to be uploading 1 video per week, then it needs to be done. For example, if you're going to be doing it on Wednesday, then you do it on Wednesday. And every Wednesday, you know that you're going to be uploading your video. The second thing that you need to have is a content calendar. Right now, what Dave and I do, and possibly you have seen it already with the Toilet Paper Diaries and also Fast Forward, is we say the name of this week is going to be virtual makeovers. And we do the whole thing on virtual makeovers. We are going to be doing another week on superheroes. We're going to do another one on the brand new you. So every time we have different contents that we say our week is going to be dedicated to that, and we're going to cover from every aspect. We're going to be covering this topic, so that, of course, we have a lot of clout for us creating content for that specific topic. Now, a content calendar doesn't mean that you only have to have one theme, but you can also say, I can also just be working. For example, if you are in the restaurant business, or if you are in the hotel industry, or whatever it is, you can say, well, we're going to be doing September, it has such and such different holidays. And then July, we're going to be having the 4th of July, and we're going to be having different calendar things that you can do. But that right now is very difficult to create. So the best way that we can tell you is, okay, dedicate 1 full day to cover many aspects of one specific topic. And then the next day you do the next thing, and then you are going to start creating the next important aspect, which is going to be your playlists. So you're going to have your playlists, which, for example, if you have several avatars, you're going to say, okay, this playlist is going to be for my clients which are into identity theft, in the case of Frank. But Frank doesn't only do identity theft, he also does workplace bullying. So he does another week which is going to be on workplace bullying, and then his next thing is going to be on 2 or 3 of the different topics that he's usually creating. And you separate in your YouTube channel, you have your different playlists, because that's going to create an amazing library. Right now, if you go to youtube.com/speak in Dubai, you're going to find an amazing library of incredible videos that we have created in the past 100 days. So that's just incredible. And that is so impressive for anybody that is going to hire us. All we need to say is, well, you know, this is our body of work. People get incredibly impressed. That's why it's so critical. And last point is, you need to understand the YouTube milestones, because this is exactly what's going to keep you into the right direction, and you're not going to have a moving finish line. So what are the milestones? Milestone number 1, you need to have 100 subscribers. Why do you need 100 subscribers? Because after 100 subscribers, you will be able to call your channel whatever you want. Before that, it's just going to have a random number with random letters, and it's just not going to look very good. So that's your first milestone. Your second milestone, it's going to be 1,000 subscribers. 1,000 subscribers might take you possibly 3 to 4 months, which I think it's already perfectly fine. And that's going to be when YouTube says, well, you know, this is somebody which is doing things correctly. Now, these 1,000 subscribers are not going to happen if you have only 10 videos or 20 videos. So together with that milestone, you need to have, exactly as Gary Vaynerchuk was saying, you need to have at least 50 videos. And you know, you're going to say, oh my goodness, this is overwhelming. Yes, it is overwhelming if you think that you have to do this immediately. And this is the reason why the YouTubers are successful, but right now most of the Generation X and most of the baby boomers are not successful, because of course they are thinking, well, I want the microwave solution. I want results right now. While the YouTubers, they are spending so much time in YouTube that they don't mind actually keep on unloading and uploading content. You need to know that this is going to take you a little bit of time. So that's the next one. You need to have your 50 videos, and then when you really take off is when you start having over 412 videos. As we were mentioning, we have right now 518 videos in the channel. However, have we achieved incredible growth? No. Let me tell you why not. Because we started uploading videos without really knowing what we were doing. All these secrets that we are sharing with you are how we are doing it right now. It took us a number of different videos and uploads and whatever this content, but right now we are already seeing the incremental growth, and this is the absolute power. We were saying that storytelling is the number 1 skill, and the second skill that you really need to learn in order for you to be successful in the digital world is going to be video editing, and that is just absolutely critical. If you do not really know anything about video editing, you won't be able to create these videos. How much has it meant to you learning to do video editing?
It's probably been the most important skill that I have, apart from my ability to engage and speak to audiences, because it means I'm not dependent on anybody, and it also means I'm able to come up with stuff that's really creative, get it myself, put it all together, and send it out to the market. Now, previously, what would happen is if you wanted to engage an agency to look after your brand, or get a freelancer to create really creative stuff for you, I mean, we know from experience, you're talking $500 for creating a kind of video along the likes of the one I shared today. Because it took me about maybe 2-3 hours to put that video together. I can churn them out, and you can do it the same with this. and it's becoming an unbelievable skill. It's like a martial art of marketing that most people don't realize. And what it does is it elevates you above the game. Most people get their phone, they hold it like that, and they talk. Now, if you're good looking, which is what we're not, if you're young, which is what we're not as well, and if you've got cleavage, well, we got that, then people will watch you and they'll love it and they'll like it. But that doesn't mean necessarily producing stuff content that they will want to share. They just quite like to ogle. The content is really effective, and if you put it into a right position, it'll work. So what that means ultimately is there's a massive gap in the market for self-generated content that reaches a certain type of client. Right now, I'm actually not in my normal studio because I've had a challenge with my laptop. I'm downstairs, I'm on my wife's laptop. Ernesto's got his backdrop here. Now, most of the guys who started at home, Trevor Noah, Stephen Colbert, Bill Mayer, they had to go from studio full of people clapping and screaming to at home, what's your house like? And after doing it for 3-4 months, we've all gone, I've had enough. I can't generate content. I don't want to talk politics. I don't want to talk about the virus. I'm wild. And then wait to see how the market develops. And then I'll come back. Maybe we'll be in a studio, or maybe we'll have some new Zoom type thing that allows me to talk to people in a virtual world. Now, here's the important thing. You can jump into that gap right now with what you do. And if you take the techniques that Ernesto's sharing about planting it out there and growing it, planting it and growing it, by the time these guys come back, yeah, they'll still get their market, but you'll be in it as well. And that's why it's key to learn these skills, because it's cost effective and it means you can do it at any time and just produce it and get it out there.
There's two questions that every time I talk about these with my clients, they ask me, well, how can I learn to do video editing? Well, it depends on what you're using. I mean, are you a Mac user? If you are a Mac user, one of the things that it's great about the Mac is that they already have iMovies. You edit everything with iMovies, right, Dave? So it is already there. It's not going to cost you anything. The software is very user-friendly, and you can just go to Udemy or Udemy, whatever you want to call it. Normally, they run these specials, and you can buy a quick course on how to do video editing. It's actually fairly simple. If you can do PowerPoint, you will be able to do video editing. And we're going to be sharing with you some amazing ideas on how you can actually create content and churn content like crazy. Now, if you are a PC user, the software that I recommend, it's called Movavi, Movavi. It's about $35. It's worth buying because it's very simple. This is the simplest that you can use. And you can start creating some amazing, amazing video content that is going to, of course, make you look a lot more professional than those people which are just taking their phone and saying, hello, I am right now here. This is John Smith. Those videos are, they are okay, but they're very amateurish. We have now evolved, and we cannot keep on just doing what we were doing in the past. So I hope that you enjoyed all these tips. And please, if you enjoyed everything that we were sharing, make sure to subscribe and get into the notification bell so that we can give you more and more amazing content. Okay, so what did you think about that? Great tips. I love some of the YouTube stuff that I was sharing there with you, and also some of the great advice that Dave had on his viral videos. I think it was just awesome. What did you think, Dave?
Yeah, I think we're very good. But I tell you what, I'm really shocked looking at the state of us in those days. We look so young and so thin and so innocent. I feel like I should have stocks and shares in M&Ms and pizza in the amount of time that in lockdown and the amount I've actually enjoyed since then. And the gray I was expecting to go away, and it hasn't. It's just become absorbing my entire head. But apart from that, it's still good to look back. And it's almost like, imagine looking back if you were living in a subway and you didn't see daylight. It almost feels like that the whole ecosystem was from inside our house. Even though we can still go outside, most of the time you don't really want to. And we never expected that to happen. But anyway, we were there. We're here now. We're sharing as much as we possibly can. And we hope it's been of use to you as well. So tune in next week for more great stuff with the Toilet Paper Diaries.
Bye-bye.